Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. I did a video a couple days ago about the Magic ecosystem, who all the participants were, how their different incentives aligned and sometimes misaligned, what their motivations were, and how different things benefited or hurt them. And that was foundational to a number of videos I have coming up. And this is one of them where I put my hubris on full display and talk about how I would fix Magic the Gathering if only Mark Rosewater would get rid of the restraining order he has against me. So something to understand is you really can't make suggestions on this topic if your suggestion requires that some group be injured by it, because essentially they would never go along with it. You wouldn't get their buy-in, and if you enacted the change anyway, then you would see a lot of friction from them, and it wouldn't be ultimately productive. So you have to think about things that at worst are neutral to parties in the ecosystem, and they otherwise need to benefit them. The other thing is, it's not useful to simply suggest things for nostalgia's sake. Just because we did it that way in 1997 doesn't mean it will go back to working now. So I had put this up as a poll several weeks ago on the community tab on YouTube, and got a lot of good responses from people about stuff that they would like to see changed in Magic. And of course, the most common one that I got was there are too many expansions and too many products. And so the first thing that I would do is look backwards at the last couple of years. In 2021, Magic released 7 sets. And that doesn't count extra products, things like the Commander decks and Brawl decks or Challenger decks, whatever they're calling them this year. It doesn't count those kind of products that fall outside of any particular expansion. And in 2022, this year, Magic plans to release 8 sets. If you count the Jumpstart 2022, that's paradoxically coming out in December. But 8 sets this year, 7 sets last year. And yeah, that'll increase their top line revenue and their bottom line profit, but mostly because they're selling it to distributors who sell it to retailers. And I suspect a lot of product is going to end up sitting there. It's not that releasing all this extra product and all these extra expansions actually flows through to the players, collectors, and investors that ultimately consume the product. So, my plan would be Magic would release 5 sets per year. And 3 of those would be standard. Every other year, one of those 3 standards would be a core set. That would allow you to do nominally 2-year-long print runs on core sets the way standard sets are done today. And then it would leave 2 other sets during the year that WotC could make a judgment call on how they wanted to fill them in. They could be Commander Legend sets if it looks like there's a whole lot of stored up reprint equity, there's a lot of needed reprints that Commander players could benefit from. It could be Master sets, it could be straight to modern sets, it could be something remastered, it could be Jumpstart, but I'll talk more about Jumpstart later. Or it actually leaves the door open for them to do more zany things in the future. We've had Modern Masters before, we could have Commander Masters, we could have Tempest Block Remastered Jumpstart. Just think about that for a second. Tempest Block Remastered Jumpstart. I will play Counter Sliver, I'll have Dismiss, Mana Leak, Counterspell, Airtie, and then all the slivers. Doesn't that sound great? And so it would leave two expansion slots per year open for WotC to just kind of take the pulse of the market and say, what do we think the market would really like right now? So the next thing is, every draft, set, and collector box needs box toppers. It's really weird how WotC has had this kind of stuttering on and off relationship with box toppers. They were in Ikoria, and then Zendikar Rising, and then Crimson Vow had them. And did you know Streets of New Capenna had them? Like, that was the quietest box toppers I've ever seen. But besides just sometimes doing them and then sometimes not, the quality of them is just all over the place. Like, we saw a bunch of videos of opening Crimson Vow box toppers, and they just had garbage uncommons in them. But then you had the Zendikar Rising Expedition box toppers that have the best lands from the history of Magic. And so It's just all over the place, and they really need to get that sorted out. But a box topper is supposed to be a reward to a person who buys an entire box. And WotC should want to reward that person. If they're going to buy an entire booster box, that reduces so much friction in the entire distribution and retail system. When somebody says, I'll reach in, I'll just buy the whole box, and then I'll consume the whole thing. And giving them a box topper as a reward for that will incentivize that more. WotC should really want that to happen. Also, it's a reward to card stores for two things. One is managing to sell booster packs to people who come in and want booster packs. So a card store sells the last booster pack in the box that's on the shelf. They open a new booster box. They pocket the box topper. They pop open the box topper, maybe stick it in the display case because it should be a good card. It also rewards card stores who do mass box openings. It gives them an extra little bit to get over the line in the profitability on mass box openings, which all around, mass box openings are a great thing for everybody in the ecosystem. And WotC should be doing stuff to try to encourage mass box openings to happen more regularly again. So to that end, the box toppers, they need to actually be good. They need to not be uncommons. They should at least be rare, but mix of rare or mythic. They need to be a subset from the set that they appear in. And they can't be some kind of format warping staple. You know, you don't want Ragavan or Dockside Extortionist as a box topper and have that be the only place to get them. The cards need to otherwise be available in different alternate versions within the set. And so you could make them alternate art treatments. You could do things like maybe take the gilded foils from New Capenna and maybe have only had those in box toppers. Stuff like that. Make them chase cards. Make them rare and valuable and sought after. And then they're a reward for people who manage to move entire boxes. So the next thing is draft boxes in particular. So draft boxes, you know, for so many years, they were the way that you consumed Magic, mostly. And now set boxes have replaced them. Set boxes are outselling draft boxes. Set boxes are almost always a better value than a draft box. And draft boxes are kind of losing their way. With the exception for being used for actual drafting, they kind of are ceasing to serve a purpose. And the prices in the market reflect it. A lot of the draft box prices are very depressed right now compared to their set box alternatives from the same expansion. And so I think what WotC needs to do is lean into that and say, look, we are going to make the draft box a product for drafting. It's going to have 24 booster packs. Its 2 box toppers will be designed as prize support for a draft tournament. And so you can imagine that a card store busts open a draft box. They get 24 packs. That's enough for an 8-man tournament. And the 2 box toppers are the prize support. It's all self-contained. And then a draft box is for drafting. You know, WotC keeps piling more and more value into set boxes, into the list slot, into treatments and alternates that are only available in set or collector boxes and are no longer available in draft boxes. WotC wants us to go to set boxes. And so if we want to keep the draft box around, I think we need to better define what its real purpose is. And, you know, this still works if somebody just, for some reason, wants to open a draft box. Or if the market says, hey, the price is so low that people will open draft boxes as a good substitution for set boxes. So you could still just open the 24 packs, you get the 2 box toppers, and you're still happy. Set box changes. Set boxes are doing pretty good. Again, WotC wants you to buy set boxes. That's why they're awesome. That's why they're a great value, especially compared to draft boxes. There's not a lot to change, except for the list. The list is like, what is the list even supposed to be? I feel like WotC hasn't really told us. WotC seems to have this moving target of what it thinks the list should be, but it needs to figure that out. Whatever it is, figure it out, communicate it clearly, and then execute on it. And a great example of this is Urborg Panther. Do you even know what that card is? It's a garbage common from Mirage. It was never played in any format except Mirage Booster Draft if you were unlucky enough to get one and had to play it. And yet it was on the list. It's literally the list copy on TCG Player today is 1 cent. Why is that in the list? It's a garbage card nobody ever cared about. Why is it taking up room in the list? Is the list supposed to be nostalgic cards? Is it supposed to be needed reprints of good cards? What is it even supposed to be if a card like Urborg Panther is in it? I don't understand. WotC needs to figure it out, communicate it clearly, and execute it. So the next thing, go back to once annual Commander deck releases. Putting Commander decks in every expansion is watering down the reprint equity. And the real problem is when you keep releasing Commander decks over and over, it suppresses the ability of a lot of Commander cards to store up reprint equity. And so every Commander deck becomes less valuable. And you just can't offer a good value to the buyer if you're constantly printing more and more Commander decks to release. So they end up bland, they lack needed reprints, and they're just not a good value. So precons in general are still a very important product that every card game needs to have in order to bring new players in, but it needs to provide value to the market. So the next thing is Jumpstart. You should not release a Jumpstart set more than every other year. I think yearly Jumpstart is a bad idea. The fact that we've seen that this new product coming late this year is going to be called Jumpstart 2022. It's a bad sign that Jumpstart's coming every year. Also, Dominaria United Jumpstart is going to be a thing. So we're going to get 2 Jumpstart sets this year. I just don't think that's a good idea. Jumpstart is an incredible product. I think it's very well engineered. If you want more Jumpstart and you're WotC, just make more deck archetypes in it. Because the replayability of Jumpstart is quadratic with the number of archetypes. So just make more. And also, Jumpstart needs box toppers. Yeah. So the way I would do this is, and I had one idea for it, I'm sure other people can come up with good ideas too. But what you would want is some kind of 2-colored land that's similar to Cryptic Spires from Double Masters 2022, where it basically just takes on the colors of the deck that it's playing in. And then you would substitute it for a basic land in the deck. So it would just make the deck a little more powerful. And maybe you could have a rule where both players have to play the same number of box topper cards in their Jumpstart deck when they're playing, so that you don't kind of lose any type of balance that WotC managed to put into Jumpstart. There's a lot more design space here that I think WotC could run with and do a lot of really interesting things. So next is bundles and gift boxes. Do you know what the difference in a bundle and a gift bundle is? It's confusingly scant. The difference, like one has a collector booster pack added on top. That's about it. These kind of exist in the market to bridge a gap between people who want to walk into a card store and buy 1 or 2 or 3 booster packs and people who can buy a whole booster box. And so a bundle exists there the same way that elite trainer boxes do for Pokemon. They exist there to be a way to kind of more economically get some booster packs than buying individual booster packs, but not as economical as buying an entire booster box. And they seem to do a really good job there. The way they're priced, the way they're kind of balanced in the market. I think the one concern is WotC needs to watch out for the bloat from everything else that's in there. You can only absorb so many 40 packs of land cards from bundles before you basically just don't even open them anymore. You only need so many 20-sided dice. You only need so many spin down life counters. Junk like that. They need to monitor those extra things that go into the box to make sure they're providing value to the buyers. Pre-release packs. These are mostly fine. 6 booster packs. You can play 2 draft tournaments with it. You can play a draft tournament and you can open 3 packs for fun, or you can just open 6 packs for fun. The one thing I would say is, since they almost all come with spin down life counters, consider something like treating that as its own slot within the box. And instead of having 100% spin down life counters in every pre-release pack, have it sometimes be a set of like plastic +1/+1 tokens, or other type of counter for that expansion, a tournament legal coin flip, a coin to do for those rare cases in Magic where you need to flip a coin. Think about other things like that that could be put into that slot instead of always another spin down life counter. Theme boosters seem mostly useless. They seem to me like a way to help players get more of what they want out of a set quickly before that set gets replaced by the next new set. And it feels like theme boosters are a consequence of having too many expansions in the year. So if you cut down the number of expansions, you give people time to play the set more, collect the set more, enjoy the set more, explore the meta, solve the booster draft meta, things like that, and you don't necessarily need the theme boosters anymore. Also, they're just a drag on card stores. They're extra inventory that you have to keep in mind in store. So if you lower the number of releases, I think you can get rid of theme boosters and not really lose anything. Challenger decks, I think these are just kind of a bad idea all around. They cannibalize the sales of booster boxes, and they also cannibalize sales of commander precons. If you have a new player product that is intended for new people coming into your game for the first time or returning after a long break, then you do not want to have multiple of those that are incompatible and fight with each other. Let commander precons be that new player thing, and don't let challenger decks cannibalize your booster box sales. They also just feel like another way of compensating for too many releases during the year. People who would like to play standard, but golly, there were 4 standard releases again this year, and you can't keep up. You can't have enough cards to play what you would like to play, and so instead you buy the challenger deck. So again, lowering the number of releases kind of fixes this problem and allows you to shed challenger decks. Other issues, prize support. I don't really know enough about that issue to say. I know card stores complain about it a lot, but I don't understand it well enough to comment on how to fix it. And WotC selling direct on Amazon. This is a good example of something that's very good for WotC, so you could not convince them to stop doing it. It's great for scammers who want to open product and then let Amazon launder that product through their distribution system. It's pretty much bad for everyone else. Distributors, retailers, players, collectors, investors. It's bad for everyone else. And I think ultimately on the long timeline, it's bad for WotC, but because it's bad right now to tell them to stop doing it, they will not do it, and we couldn't expect them to. So let me know what you think about all of those, what your suggestions would be, what you disagree with. I'm definitely open to that, but you see that most of it revolves around too many expansions and too much product. Players get burned out. They feel like they can never catch up. They feel like they can't enjoy anything before there's another wave of leaks. The next set is going to come out, the next pre-release. And, I see that a lot in comments. People just feel overwhelmed by the whole thing and they get burnt out from it. And I think if you slow down a little bit, it will give players room to breathe. I think WotC would still sell the same amount of product. I think there's very few people who are swimming in so much money that they can allocate towards Magic that they're simply waiting around for something new to buy because they're bored. I think they are the vanishing exception. I think most people would appreciate more time to enjoy what is already released and to take it slower. So let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade and join the Patreon. Thanks a lot.